Atta boy. Yes, sir.
I was just talking last night Dylan Carlson. I just brought him up just because I watched the Cardinal game and he has 12 home runs. And they were talking about his durability. And they said, boy, for a 22-year-old, and by the way, 22, I was in A-ball. So he's better than I ever was. So I'm not knocking these guys. I'm not whatever. I'm not knocking 12 home runs. Yeah. But the guy's he's had to have 400 at-bats. Just do the math. The Cardinals are over their 100th game. I hear Dan McLaughlin say it all the time. Oh, now it's game 110, and we're 3/4 of the way. Well, he's played every day roughly. Well, how many at-bats do you get if you're batting first or second, which he's batted all year? You get about 4. So he's got to be over 400 at-bats, and he's got 12 home runs. I always think about it this way. Let's say he did something unprecedented, and a guy starts out the season with, let's say, 12 home runs. 12 home runs in his first 12 at-bats. It's almost impossible, probably, right? Yep. But let's say we could foresee the future, or we go in the past and we say, well, he had 12 home runs, but he had 550 at-bats. But if you spurt him out, it doesn't sound that bad, and it's like, hey. But my point is, if you hit 12 home runs your first 12 at-bats, and then you had 480 to go, what if you didn't get another hit? What are you going to do for me in between the home runs? Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you take I'm a home run hitter. If you take the mindset, in my opinion, of I got to hit 20 home runs, and you can't hit 20, 30 home runs and then not fill in the blanks. Yeah. You just hope for some other stuff. You got to do it the other way around, in my opinion. You got to blast the ball and drive baseballs, and then 20 of them go out. Mm-hmm. And I know La Russa, I have articles where La Russa says the same. He goes, Pujols. La Russa would say, Pujols isn't a home run hitter. He's a line drive hitter. Mm. He hits a ton of line drives, and about 30 of them a year go out.
And he just slightly gets under the ball.
And that's what Gutton told me. Yep. And again, I'm not comparing myself to Pujols, but that's the same exact quotes theory that I was taught, and I still believe in it to this day.
I have to think that it's getting back to that, though, Hack, because it went away. The game went away from it for a while. I mean, for whatever the game got, and data's never going to go away. Like, there's going to be more data points on players in 5 years than ever before.
Yep.
But at some point, some guy walked in and said, if we hit X amount of home runs, or we do this, or we slug this, then we will win X amount more games because we will produce runs more. Mm-hmm. And at that point, the whole game shifted, but I think in a wrong way, to where then that coincided with the launch angle phase.
First of all, I agree. Right? I think you're exactly correct. But and the analysts and the Moneyball type stuff. And I've never seen the movie, but I know exactly what it's about. Yeah. And I've heard, but all those analytics that say, well, we can win, and that's how people build teams and who they want to get. Yeah. What I'm talking about, right? I've always been the player's perspective. Yeah. And I'm telling you this, and this is just my opinion. But if you go up there and start thinking about 6-degree angles and matching planes, for sure. And boy, if I don't hit 10 home runs, you're done.
Paralysis by analysis.
You can't live like that. And if you tell me one player this quote and said, well, I was up there and I changed my angle from 6 to 20 because I saw the slider, I'm like, what? This is all happening in 0.4 of a second. Right. And you can work on the cage and you can talk about it and you can use video and all that. And I'm a big video fan. Some guys swing up more. I mean, I'll give you one. Freddie Freeman. I don't know how he baffles me. And I like the guy. He's a great guy. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. I have never seen that harsh of an uppercut consistently on a player in my life.
Because he's a freak athlete.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably unbelievable hand-eye coordination.
If I taught a kid that, if I did that, I wouldn't have made it to college.
Well, also his leverage is a lot different. His arms are a lot longer.
But I don't know how he does
Only
it.
Freddie Freeman can do that.
I mean,
that's been my problem with the commentary and people talking like that forever and pushing launch angle or pushing home runs is because then it's natural in terms of game adoption. The younger guys are going to try to do it, but they can't do it.
Well, on the same note, Dave, there's people, and I would mention it, there's people locally in this area in St. Louis that are teaching every kid that walks into place. Swing up, hit home runs.
That's where I think
that makes me sick to my stomach.
That's where this conversation gets a little bit different, is that there's one thing of knowing the information, but it's being able to pass on the information that helps that person.
Right.
I am a huge advocate, and I think you might disagree with me on this. I'm a huge advocate of knowing launch angle and knowing what it is and how to use it. But I am not an advocate of just literally when a person comes in and just talking about launch angle. I want to use that tool when it is appropriate. And the probability of me using that is not that much. I've probably had, in my teaching career, again, it's not as long as you, I would say I probably had maybe 3 or 4 conversations on launch angle.
It's funny you mention that. And first of all, I believe knowledge is power. So I want to know everything everybody's saying. I want to hear it, but it doesn't mean I'm the be a sheep and follow along. And I'm also not a guy who's just going to go against everything that's new. That's not the case. But ironically, you would think it would come up and we'd have to fight it all the time. I don't think I've ever had anybody bring it up for the most part. As far as, hey, are you going to teach my kid to launch angle and swing home runs? And this has never happened. But if it did, I literally. I've thought about this. I overthink a lot of things, and if that happened, I never met a guy that said, "Well, I thought you were going to teach this," and I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't believe in that. I believe at times, if this kid was bigger, when he gets a high changeup, hit it out of the fence, over the fence. But even if it's a high changeup or a hanging breaking ball, but I've got a 5'6", 120-pound kid, I'm not telling him to launch it because it ain't going anywhere. Let's be realistic. But I love the information, but I'm not gonna teach the same thing to every kid. Yep. So I'm to tell, the Jake Bergers of the world, we talked a million times, just hit bombs, hit line drives. But when you get that right pitch, let it loose. And just like you said, you get the 3-1, you get the 2-0, you get the 0-0, and you know this guy's been throwing fastball all day. And when I'm hot, I got a little tilt to me. I've done some launch angle.
If the guess is going to be right,
right,
or if I've baited the pitcher to throw that pitch to me later in the count. But
there's a time and a place, and in my opinion, and if your time and place is always, which I think is not sustainable, you got Chris Davis retired. I didn't know he was still playing, and God love him, he's made millions.
Sure.
And I'm not knocking a guy. I'm just saying
Chris Davis is still playing.
He retired 2 days ago.
Oh, you mean? Oh, okay, yeah.
For the Orioles.
Yeah.
If that was on the news, I keep paying attention. I'm like, retired? Where's he been? Chris Davis is done, and I don't know if he's played in a game in the last few years. So that was not sustainable. The 53 home runs was not sustainable because he never came close again. Matt Carpenter. When Matt Carpenter came in the league, I couldn't have been a bigger fan. Oh, yeah. I still like the guy in TCU, and he was not supposed to make it. He's made millions. Awesome. But he broke, I'll never forget this, he broke Stan Musial's doubles record.
Yeah, it was awesome.
For anybody listening, if you're a St. Louis or a baseball historian, to break Stan Musial's doubles record is unbelievable. I remember watching this guy.
That's a lot of doubles.
2013, I've memorized his stats. He was like 313, 50-something doubles. Broke Stan Musial's record.
He beat down the left center fence.
I've never seen somebody spray line.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
It was different than Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn and Wade Boggs are two of my favorite guys, even though that wasn't my type of hitter. It was just a beauty thing to watch.
Yeah.
But this guy was hitting line drives down both lines. That's how you get a bunch of doubles.
Yep.
And then I still think, from reading the articles and reading what I read, the whole thing I heard about when he started trying to hit home runs is Matt Holliday, that played for the Cardinals, got hurt. And I don't know if he was joking or if they were serious, but I've read articles that said, hey, somebody's got to fill in and hit some home runs. He goes, you can hit home runs. So he started trying to launch a little bit. God forbid it worked. And all of a sudden, a few years ago, what a total dichotomy of a year. He started off that year, it was freezing outside in the whole country for some reason. And I remember one day watching the Cardinals, and a month in or so, and Matt Carpenter was hitting 1-something. And just couldn't buy a hit. It was freezing out. He was hitting a bad luck. They were starting to put a shift on. It was not conducive to hitting. And the articles, and this was when Mike Matheny was the coach, and it said, I remember one of the articles, how long can Matheny keep starting this guy? They were wanting his head. They were, in essence, they were wanting him to be benched.
Yep.
Well, next thing you know, he turns it around. He gets hot. It warms up. I remember a series in Wrigley. He probably hit 6 home runs in Wrigley in one series. Next thing you know, he has 38 home runs or something like that. And he's in the MVP candidacy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then he gets this big extension. And you guys live here, so you know what's happened next. He's now not starting. He hasn't been starting for 2 years. Tommy Edmonds took his job, a rookie who doesn't hit home runs.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to talk, I'm convinced, and I have articles where he says, I can't do this anymore. I couldn't sleep last year. I got to go. It's too late. He's lost his way, from what I see, because it's the same damn swing.
Well, you know how that pressure is in pro ball.
Of course it is.
The pressure of...
It's not sustainable to do this.
That's my point. It's exactly what you said. The game always adjusts. I talk to pitchers all the time. I'm like, it's always, whatever you're watching, it's a cat and mouse game. We're always trying to figure out what you got, and you're always trying to figure out what we got. And whenever you figure something out and start beating us, we're going to try to do something different to beat you. The problem is he put like 100,000 swings into one swing. And then when pitchers figured out how to get that swing out, do you think that a hitter can just go back to what he was doing?
That's the article. The article I had, he goes, I'm going back. It was Lance Berkman. That was the article. Lance Berkman this is in the off season. The Cardinals writers have nothing to write about. And he said they saw each other because Texas area or something, because he went to Rice and he went to TCU.
Yep.
And the article was like, what the blank happened to your swing? From Lance Berkman to Matt Carpenter. That's what and so they started working together and working it out. Apparently it's too late because it's the same swing. And what got him was precisely what you said. They got a book on him. Yeah. And then the shift.
Yeah.
There's guys sitting out in right center.
For
He
sure.
can't hit it over there anymore.
No, it's not capable. And when you put that amount of swings into one motion, and then at pitcher figures, you can't switch back quickly. It takes you 50,000 swings to get out of that.
Be a chameleon.
Yeah,
hit line drives.
Exactly correct.
Hit line drives and be a chameleon.
Catch new episodes of the Tiger Interview Series on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and you can watch it on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to get notified of future episodes by setting notifications to all. And check out our website, rawlingstigers.com, for club, baseball, and softball information.